Welcome, everybody, to this session. I am the liaison, Grace Strong. Now I'm going to introduce the speakers today. We have Jim Wilberding, Senior Mobility Manager from HNTB, Aaron Gatdula, Senior Associate from MUSE, Phil Green, Transportation and Long-Range Planner from Village of Hoffman Estates, Sean Keane, Parking and Mobility Service Manager from Village of Oak Park, Rudy Faust, Board Member at Wright, Illinois, Fiona Kennedy, Associate at MUSE, Matthew Krause, Planner at Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways. However, I will have to say that none of them could make it today because right now we're at the curb court.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Curb Court, the only reality TV show about a real courtroom that is neither a reality TV show nor about a real courtroom. Please all rise for the dishonorable Judge Kirby. Did I say you could be seated? Be seated.
Okay.
Now, who are you?
Hi, Your Honor. I'm here to inform you that your plaintiff and all other police department staff have been recruited for air traffic control. Apparently, the mayor's department said that their work is close enough. So I will be replacing your bailiff today. I am the City of Everyville's parking ambassador. I help connect drivers to the right places to park and sometimes issue tickets, and will be assisting you on these high-stake cases.
Oh, so you're a meter maid.
No, I'm not a meter maid. I do so much more than that. Yes, sometimes I issue tickets, but I also tell people the rules of the parking road. I'm an ambassador to all things parking. I even give brunch recommendations.
So you're a fancy meter maid.
Indeed. And I'm here to help you with these two very exciting high-stakes cases today.
So the City of Everyville's restaurant owner, Carmi Bevetto, is suing Uber via former CEO Travis Kalanick for $10 million for loading time not used in front of his restaurant due to ride share, specifically Uber drop-off and associated damages. Uber says this is not true because it is misaligned with their movement to create opportunity through movement.
This is case number 4. Oh, wow, not that many. They have been sworn in, Your Honor. Everyone may be seated, like you already are.
Good job. Mr. Bevetto, according to your complaint, Uber has spent over 20,000 hours using the parking space in front of your businesses that is supposed to function as a loading zone for freight deliveries to your restaurant and or customers coming in and out, per the loading zone designation provided by the City of Everyville.
Yeah, that's right. Also, Judge, do you mind if I smoke? I just started this, and I want to finish it.
You also allege that you're preventing customers from accessing your business.
Yeah.
And you prevent some loading and shipments from being made to your business, which has impacted your overall timeline in opening your upscale restaurant.
Yeah.
And you have repeatedly called the customer service line, but nobody has answered. And you have tried talking to individual drivers, but nobody has answered your requests.
Yeah.
Son, you are in a courtroom. Here we say yes, not yeah.
Yes. And my customers can't even go into my spot. How am I and my dysfunctional family supposed to successfully run a no-nonsense business, counter service selling the best iconic Italian beef sandwiches in Chicago to regular Chicagoans, and by night trying to become a Michelin star restaurant, chasing the dreams without a reliable loading zone?
I'm going to be honest, son. I stopped paying attention when you said Italian beef. Is it good?
Well, yeah, it's the best in the city. When my brother owned the place, he never had any issues with, loading zones or parking and all this nonsense. But if you're aware, the neighborhood's, changed. It's, more hippie, hipster kind of things. The parking lot's getting overrun. People can't eat their sandwiches anymore like this, or I can't accept large orders in the loading zone anymore with these new hip bars and CBD bakeries. It's just nonsense with all these Ubers and Lyfts taking up the whole block and the entirety of it. I'm just sick of it.
So, you're from the Bear?
That's right.
I've been trying to get a reservation there for a real long time. Now, if this were to maybe go in your favor, could you see to a table for 3 and also maybe an extra walk-on spot on that there television show of yours?
Well, this...
Objection, Your Honor. What is this, some kind of quid pro quo in Everyville? Come on.
Overruled. We have had it clearly demonstrated to us that quid pro quo is no longer a problem at the federal level.
Okay, Your Honor, I think you might be getting a little carried away. Is this really what the curb court system is all about?
I don't know what the curb court system's all about. Look, all right, son, how long have you had the rights to this load-in zone? Do you have a receipt?
Yeah, if you can just see some evidence pulled up ahead. Oh, it'll get there. Don't you worry. It's damning. That's why it's taking its time.
Wait, so it's been like that the whole time?
It's been like that the whole time.
Oh, okay. Technical difficulty.
Well,
Okay.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Just the evidence is so hot. It's just it takes time to load.
I think
This
your
is what I get
technology
for
needs to be disrupted
allowing
in this
a
town.
meter maid to be my bailiff.
Well, this is why we have fresh cannolis.
There we
All
go.
right, there it is. See, that's my deed right there.
That looks 100% legitimate.
Yeah, my brother, Michael's name might be on it originally, but since he was the original owner and since he passed away, but the bear has gone on. It's progressed. It's been grandfathered into this loading zone since then.
Bro, again, objection. I mean, I'm sorry for your loss, but, this was the old owner, not the current owner. It seems to be just written in here. Who approved this?
So, this is a good point, but the city technically does have a ruling in which businesses can be grandfathered into a loading zone. It's kind of a known, unknown issue with in the curb court system these days.
I actually have been tallying up how many Ubers are using the loading zone. Not only does it prevent customers from accessing my spaces, it also prevents loading of shipments, where I need to get made. When trucks can't get into the businesses, they move on, or they have to park somewhere else, and then they get ticketed, and I have to front their ticket costs. What? That's unreasonable. That's where I landed at $10 million.
Now, $10 million is a fairly large amount of money, even to me, someone clearly from Kentucky. But I would like to direct some questions to you, Travis. The first and most important of which would be, why are you here? You're not even the CEO of Uber anymore. Do you not have some form of mega yacht with which to retire to?
Well, I'm the founder, but the current CEO is now at his jam pad ideating. So, and we hate to have cancellation fees, so that's why I'm here. But I'm super pumped to be here. So I'd like to present some evidence to show what's really happening with our data. And this loading zone hasn't been used for loading, and it's something that's been going on for years. Their loading zone is not primarily used for loading. It's not being used by customers, not being used for delivery, but for Mr. Beef's staff.
Objection. Objection. It's a great spot for a smoke break when you've been working all day, and every morning you can smell Mrs. Pulaski's paczkis, freshly made.
Overruled. The city of Everyville does not acknowledge breaks during the workday.
Overruled what?
Overruled, chef.
That's better.
We've gathered this actual data, and the space is being used by employees and the owners of the company, which has been preventing customers from accessing these spaces. In the past 2 years, this spot has been used by fewer than 10 customers during service and by 20 deliveries off-peak, whereas Uber has delivered over 1,000 customers during service. And they're now able to access not only the Bear, which is, we hope you get your Michelin star, but also Starbucks and the Hang Up. They all complement each other. It brings business to the area.
Objection. How did you even get this data? We don't have that level of granularity.
You work for me. You do not do objections. But she has a good point. How do you have this data, and why does the city not?
Well, this is proprietary data, and we need it for our operations day to day, but we do release it to the city, and that's by contract. And our agreement states that we create opportunity through movement. There's nothing saying that we can't do any data mining. I mean, as long as we, protect our customers' information.
And is this something that the city's going to get the opportunity to rethink?
Well, I'm not the CEO right now, but when we negotiated it, we view our data as important because we're in competition, see, and so we're just we need to maintain that competitive advantage, and protect our customers' data.
But this is data that will help Everyville make better decisions around parking. I've been trying to figure out our best way to deploy other parking ambassadors for years. This is the kind of data that could better understand enforcement needs and truly make our city great.
Well, our value proposition is revolutionizing mobility through disruption. And in order to provide the best experience for everyone, we need to be at the peak of our competitiveness. So this seems like something that the parking ambassador should rather handle.
It's true, but we have limited funding. We don't even have enough resources to land our own planes without the police department getting involved. We need more data, but we don't have the resources to collect it.
Okay. So just so I have everything clear in front of me, you are upset about your spot that your granddaddy owned or something like that. You, the disruptor, has become the disrupted, and you smell like vape. And you don't have enough money and are regretting your decision to work in the public sector.
Guilty.
Then I believe we have a conundrum for our jury to decide.
Okay, that concludes the first case. Well, not really, because we have to make a decision. So this is the part where you learn something in this session. But curbside management, at the end of the day...
Objection. I have learned so much.
So at the end of the day, curbside management in this case is about loading versus people. So, even CBD bakeries need to get goods somehow in order to service people, but the people need to, service the business. They need to be able to access it. So how do you kind of balance those two things? And there are some real pretty stark numbers around this. So there have been studies that have shown that a loading zone is legitimately being used about 6% of the time, illegally occupied 47% of the time. That was a study done in Paris. In Brazil, there was a study done that found that passenger cars like Uber, Lyft, or personal pickup drop-off occupy those loading zone spaces for 57% of the time. So freight was only there about 35% of the time. And that's the intended user of the space. So how can we kind of rethink or re-manage these spaces? So there's a couple options that you, the jury, are going to be provided with that will then ask you what you want to do. So a smart loading zone is basically you're putting a meter in a space so that it's not a loading zone. It doesn't belong to a business. It's just you pay for it. So there's an example of Omaha, Nebraska, in which there's certain areas that it doesn't matter who's parked there, they pay. The issue with that is that it's very expensive and it can be tricky to enforce. The next one is what we call like a flex zone. So this is an example from Cincinnati, Ohio, and it's pretty hard to read, but you have to, the basic premise is that you are taking a space that used to be for one business, and now it's for several businesses. So no one, again, owns it, but you can use it for different businesses, and it could be 15-minute parking or loading or what have you. But an issue with this one could also be enforcement. How can you measure that if people are only parked there 20 times a day? That's a lot of parking ambassadors that you have to get, on the ground. Another potential solution is geofencing. So that's kind of saying Ubers are not allowed to drop off on this curb in this retail corridor. And that's something that, Ubers and Lyfts do at like airports or other kind of campuses. But that requires you to deal with Travis over here, and it can be a little tricky when you're working with vendors on that. The last one is just putting up a parklet because then that space could be used for the customers, and it could be then it actually adds revenue to the restaurant, but then you have to kind of figure out where your loading's going to be. So those were, just a few examples. I'm sure there's a lot of people here that also, have thoughts on this, but it is decision time. Your Honor, do you want to?
Members of the jury, that's all of you out there, I need to render a decision so that we can all get to happy hour. So
there is another case after this, though, just to clarify. Don't get too
am I
excited
getting
about happy
paid
hour.
double?
Think about how you're going to get home.
Think about my beefs.
I've been thinking about nothing but your beef, son. Now, members of the jury, by show of hands, who believes that the parking space should be allocated to the restaurant? Oh, I'm supposed to read the ones that are on the thing? I'm sorry. Who believes that we should use technology to make a smart loading zone? By show of hands.
Where are my disruptors at?
Who believes that we should geofence the Ubers away? Couple more, but they're more enthusiastic about it. And who believes we should put in a parklet so that neither people can use it? I say that the park gets it. I'll come up with a punishment for you later, but you there, Mr. CEO, I hereby sentence you to take in responsibility for the Department of Governmental Efficiency.
Done.
Okay, now we're switching to the second case. You can clap now. Okay. All right, you get my, okay. Talk amongst yourselves. Okay, okay.
City staff of Everyville, represented by Jake Jacobs, is suing Furry & Company owner Madam Hare for the return of a micromobility space and associated damages. Madam Furrier says tactical urbanism proves that people want parking, not these dang scooter parking spaces. All rise for the dishonorable Judge Kirby.
They've been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated.
You may be seated. Now, Mr. Jacobs, it is your claim that this here Madam here made damages to the public realm, degraded public confidence in the mobility ecosystem, dampened synergies of the built environment, and made Jane Jacobs spin in her grave.
That's correct, Your Honor.
And I'm sure we'll all find out about more than what that means. But Madam here over there is countersuing you because you say that you've invoked irreparable damages to her business and reputation to the tune of $25 American.
That is correct. The stakes could not be higher.
See, now the last guy was talking about Italian beefs, and now you're up here talking about steaks. Mr. Jacobs, you claim that you worked extensively with a bike share company to identify bike share and e-scooter parking locations adjacent to Madam Hare's storefront.
Yes, Your Honor.
And can you please tell me how upon you selected this here specific site?
We've been working on providing more mobility options to the good people of Everyville for years. In that effort, we underwent a series of bike share pilot programs which received some positive and valuable feedback. Generally, people really enjoy them, and they're using them for essential trips. This has informed our long-term planning and demonstrates the city's commitment to a responsive, evidence-based approach to curb management. However, these were met with concerns from the community after some of the users placed micromobility devices in the right-of-way, on the sidewalk, etc.
I do remember reading the newspaper about this, and I'm glad something done will better organize these. How did you decide upon this specific spot, son?
Your Honor, we worked with a bike share vendor to identify and locate bike share stations throughout downtown Everyville. We used best practices in density, service area, and public feedback. This is where we landed on. This location is ideal because it's on a corner and serves two major retail corridors. But it was placed here for only a couple days before they dismantled it.
Oh, okay. Now, that's some very charged language. I can see how upset you are. It's palpable. But you say that the parking spot was dismantled along with the synergies of the built environment. How did that happen?
It's true. My historic, family-owned, backbone of America's small business was being threatened with the placement of this horrific monstrosity. So what I did is what any reasonable person would do in this moment, and I took to YouTube.
Oh, this is going to be good.
That's right. YouTube had all these videos about passionate, engaged, backbone of America business owners like me, taking the streets into their own hands through what they called tactical urbanism.
Do you have any idea what she's talking about?
Oh yeah, Your Honor. Tactical urbanism is so hot right now. Communities have done it to insert parklets, bus-only lanes, and generally reallocate space back to people based on their needs. A lot of times, it's even kept in place after the community sees how successful it is.
Exactly. I used all the material I learned from YouTube and I applied it to my own business for the good people of Everyville. I painted over the bike share space and turned it into something the people really wanted, a parking spot. It's like that one YouTube channel always says, not just bikes. Now everyone can access my business. Plus, I moved it to a better spot.
I just want to make sure I'm being very clear. You removed the bike share parking and you turned it into a vehicle parking spot to do a tactical urbanism. Is that how that works?
Well, I don't know that I've ever heard of that being used that way. I mean, it does follow the general principles of tactical urbanism, but I've never seen it being used to give space away from people and to cars.
Objection. The internet did not specify who space should and should not be allocated to. I searched Ask Jeeves.
Overruled. Objecting the bailiff is not a thing, and neither is Ask Jeeves. Jake Jacobs, is there a parking shortage in your downtown?
Your Honor, the downtown is typically 40% full. 2 blocks from this corridor consistently has ample parking. I was leading my twice-hourly Jane's Walk for Interested Citizens when I saw that not only had Madam Hare removed our micromobility space in front of her business, but that she replaced it with a parking only for Hare customers sign and moved it to a competing business.
I really wish I had invested in a sign that said splash zone like they have at Shamu at that SeaWorld. You're
so
supposed
shocking.
to be neutral. Okay, Madam Hare, you tell us more. I'm just having fun. I'm just having a good time. You tell us more about your motivation for doing this.
Well, I've had a thriving business since 2021 in this location, before this horrific addition was plopped in front of my business. I sold upwards of 5 coats a day. One day, it just appeared and the parking space in front of my business was gone. With the people not being able to access my business, my sales have plummeted, and I've lost $25 in the past month. I haven't been able to meet the needs of my staff, which is me.
Objection. This business has not been doing well for the past 5 years.
Overruled. That's a $25 difference. At rates today, that is a foot-long sub from Subway.
You want to talk about a failing plummeting business? My business has plummeted.
Who's that?
Who are you?
Well, I am Monsieur Wig. She tacticaled my urbanism in front of my shop. I'm the furrier right down the road, but I also do hats. One day, I saw that there was a poorly painted micromobility hub in front of my business, and I lost $30 in the last month.
Oh,
Have
Key
you know,
Splash
it
Zone.
was a beautiful paint job, and your merchandise is trash anyways.
You will never do hats. You
wear
can't even
hats.
do
Nobody
hats.
It takes away from
Just
the coat.
because I'm
Nobody's
French,
even wearing
just
hats.
because
Overruled and not relevant. Do I have the power to send people to prison?
No, but we could use more parking ambassadors.
Somehow that seems like a worse fate. Okay, I have some more questions. Jake Jacobs, what evidence do you and or your vendor have in engaging these here backbone of America business owners in placing the bike share parking in this location?
Your Honor, they are our streets, and we wanted to prioritize the users of the system.
Here and Wig, what did you know about bike share before this case?
Mostly that people park them in trees.
and that they symbolize everything wrong with our youth.
Okay, it seems like there might be a little bit of a disconnect here between just who this space belongs to. Parking Ambassador, do you have any education?
I thought you'd never ask. Okay, again, this is when I'm breaking the fourth wall a little bit and going over some solutions. But, again, we're thinking about allocating space on the curb for people and users or bikes, and businesses tend to be a very strong advocate and adversary of bike share in general. But there have been a lot of programs in places across the U.S. to really prioritize business engagement when you are deploying bike share. I can give a personal example, and when we worked with Divvy to expand bike share, we did personal meetings with all the businesses that we were putting the bike share adjacent to, as well as mailers to kind of shepherd them through that process and make sure that they understood that this is happening and that it's not necessarily a bad thing. And then through that education, there's also a lot of times that businesses will, pay more or sponsor a bike share station at their business, and that can, support the system. It sounds like Jake Jacobs did not actually engage with businesses as opposed to just focusing on the public. The public is important, but the businesses are also critical to making sure that bike share systems are successful. And there is a real misconception there because, when you initially hear that you're removing a parking space, that is a real concern. But there's more people that can potentially use it with a bike. So engaging in business education is a potential solution. There's also different ways to redesign a bike share station. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same block. It could be angled, it could be back to back, so it could be kind of redesigned within the space, or go, maybe on the sidewalk. Another option is kind of thinking about the density and distribution of bike share in Everyville. It might not make sense to maybe, you can move it, but then is that going to change the density? Is it going to be too far of a walk? So that's another thing that, you could kind of go back with the business and kind of rethink what that density might look like, what that distribution looks like. There's push and pull, but it could open up opportunities for a different business, maybe a Starbucks, maybe the Bear wants one or something. So those are some options. If other people have ideas, those are also welcome, but it is decision time.
Members of the jury, once again, by raising your hands, I'm going to ask you for your input on this here problem. Those of you who believe that Jake Jacobs should have deployed a business engagement program, please raise your hands. Oh, you're going
fired.
down, boy. Those who believe that the bike share location should have been reassessed. It's a confident 3 people, but it's 3 people nonetheless. And those who believe that he should execute more neighborhood James walks. All right, son, the people have spoken, and I hereby sentence you to spend the next 6 months exclusively reviewing fence permits on corner lots. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now, we here at Curb Court run a deeply serious and professional establishment, and I have one additional case that bailiff did not make it into my notes. And so therefore, I am going to have to sentence everybody in this room to join me in singing a happy birthday to Fiona over here. So if y'all wouldn't mind, a happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Fiona. Happy birthday to you.
Wait, I have a lighter. Do it again. Oh, do it. Yay.
We did not ask for permission to light a fire. Sure, I can do some music again while you take us home.
That concludes Curb Court. And if you have any questions, let us know. We still have like a few more minutes to happy hour, but we can chat, come up on the stage.